Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Mackenzie Lambert, your host for Mac and the Movies, where we will take a look at the wide scope of cinema offerings. We look at the mainstream and the fringe, the art house and the grindhouse, theatrical and home video offerings. We see all that we can until there is nothing left to see. For this first video for my return to YouTube, I previously put out a Twitter icebreaker. Name a film not traditionally considered a horror film that actually scared you. With today being Halloween, these might be good alternatives to the typical fare one watches this day of the year. Besides, it's not like horror movies are only limited to the Halloween holiday. I've got a lovely bunch of selections. Here they are all standing in a row. Let's have a look, shall we? I first posted this topic to a few associates on Facebook, so I'll start with their picks. Rick Reed, co-host of Hamburger the Podcast, had a long list, so I'll go with the very first suggestion. Darren Aronofsky's Requiem for a Dream, an ensemble film which centers on 4 drug addicts on Coney Island. It's nightmarish in its depiction of drug abuse. Jack Estabrook of Stop the Movie I Want to Get Out offered The Dark Crystal. This was the Jim Henson, Frank Oz directorial effort with the Vulture-esque Skeksis. The puppet work of this one was some of the weirdest and strangest that Henson had ever done. Wheeze Cutler of Camp Slaughter and an alumni of X-Strike Studios offered Return to Oz. Princess Mombi. Good Lord. Aaron, host of Pantless Shorts, suggested Who Framed Roger Rabbit. This one I can relate to because the sequence and the climax terrified me and many others throughout their childhood.
Remember me, Eddie? When I killed your brother, I talked. Just wait.
Between this and Princess Mombi, who the hell was writing for kids' movies in the 1980s? Buffalo actor and cosplayer Alexander McBride offered The Never-Ending Story. In his words, the swamps of sadness. You know the scene. Now, with these reminders of why I try to block out much of the media of my childhood, let's move on to the Twitter suggestions. Sci-fi writer and genre enthusiast Zen DePietro offered Silence of the Lambs. Now, hold your horses. While many would think it was obvious that this is a horror movie, take a second and dial back the violence and grisly nature of the film, and what do you have? You have a mystery thriller. At its core, Silence of the Lambs is a non-horror film that has horror dressing. It shows that there is a thin line between horror and thriller. Christopher Roberts, with his wonderful profile pic of Fabio Testi, awesome, he offered Platoon, which is a war film that shows the horror of Vietnam. He points out a scene with a soldier that has his arms blown off with no audio, just the imagery carries the moment. Martin Kessler, filmmaker and Flixwise co-producer, offered a few esoteric selections, but the one I recognized was Andrei Tarkovsky's Stalker. Much like with Requiem for a Dream, there is a nightmarish quality to the film. The heavy ambiance within the film amplifies that sense of isolation. Jesterhead, an illustrator based out of Kiel, Germany, mentioned a true classic, The Night of the Hunter, with Robert Mitchum as Reverend Harry Powell. His fists told the story of love and hate decades before Radio Raheem. Marcus of Pinland Empire proposed the Austrian drama The Seventh Continent. The film centers on a middle-class family that mysteriously,
Spoilers.
Moving on, straight out of Perth, Australia, home of the biggest, most vicious spiders in the world, the Countdown podcast suggested 8mm with Nicolas Cage. Cage plays a private detective investigating a possible murder caught on film that leads him through the underbelly of snuff pornography. I saw this film once at the age of 15, and needless to say, I have never felt a need to see it again. The UK's own Weaseloid said Mulholland Drive because it wouldn't be a list of scary non-horror movies without David Lynch making an appearance somewhere. The scary guy behind the diner. Darth Gooley offers a few, but the one that resonates with me was Outbreak, starring Dustin Hoffman and Morgan Freeman. Remember when people freaked out about Ebola over the last few years with the epidemic in West Africa? Well, that wasn't the first time. There was an epidemic in the Democratic Republic of the Congo that was a hot zone in the mid 1990s.
Sorry.
It scared the crap out of people, among other bodily fluids. And we may as well get to it. My selection. It might be a little humiliating, but here goes. I know my first name is Steven. I was shown this movie as a kid by my mom, who was paranoid about my safety. Looking back now, it was understandable considering we weren't living in the nicest of neighborhoods. This was the downtown area of Buffalo, New York. We were within eyesight of Kleinhans Music Hall. The movie is a dramatization of the Steve Stainer kidnapping that happened in 1972. She used this movie to instill a reefer madness caliber of fear-mongering within me, saying that if I didn't behave or didn't listen to her, I would be abducted like Steven in the movie. Thanks, Mom. And that wraps up this little video topic here. Thanks for everyone who participated, and thank you for watching. Is there one you didn't see listed here that qualifies as a scary non-horror movie? Feel free to share that in the comments below. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel to stay on top of future content. I'm Mackenzie Lambert with Mac and the Movies. Have a good week, everyone.